Okay, so I don't know if y'all are familiar with Vlad TV. It's this dude who interviews like rappers and athletes and pop icons, stuff like that. And recently, he's been interviewing. I saw a few on YouTube with Gilbert Arenas. And Gilbert Arenas, if you don't know, former NBA player, and he's a really good basketball player. And when he's talking basketball, you should listen up. Well, here's a couple of takes. Heard one take recently about Giannis Antetokounmpo, but it's for another day. But normally, he's right on point when it comes to basketball. But societal issues, I'm starting to doubt. All right, he talked recently about Deshaun Watson and the Me Too movement, and it was soaked in ignorance. The whole, not just Gilbert Arenas, but Vlad as well. Both of them did a horrible job with that. But that's besides the point. All right, the next thing I saw of Gilbert Arenas, not talking basketball, was on mental health. And I'm sorry to say, once again, maybe not soaked in ignorance, but there's a lot of ignorance there. The talk was pretty much that mental health, all these athletes mentioning mental health recently, and how back in his day that would have been seen as mental weakness in his era. And I get it. I get all that. But because mental health is such a serious topic and such an misunderstood topic, that I feel as though with them not really talking about different sides of the issue and being kind of seemingly uneducated on the matter, it was reckless. I feel like their whole interview on that part was reckless. And so led me to do this for my latest mental health post. So one of the things they said, I'll keep it as short as I can, but one of the things that they said was a matter that everybody's got bad days, and that you can't just cry mental health when you have a bad day. You have to be tough, and you can't let the team down, and blah blah blah. And they mentioned things like people like Simone Biles and Naomi Osaka, and how when they talked about mental health that they were praised, which I don't think that happened. I remember a whole lot of criticism coming their way when they decided to do that. But it's not really the same thing as a bad day. It can be. There's just different degrees, kind of like a physical, kind of like your physical health. I feel like we have to get to the point with mental health that we see it similarly as physical health, right? You can have a bad day working out where you have some soreness in your ankle or something like that, right? That's a bad day. And then a next level to that, after on the level of soreness in your ankle, people will deal with that differently, depending on who you are and your experiences and how bad it is. All right. But then there's a next level to you break your leg. All right. Now we'll say that's a lot more serious, right? You might need some crutches. You can't just say, all right, this is not real. I'm going to tough it out. I'm not even going to use crutches. I'm still going to go out there and be physical. But you have a broken leg. You see what I'm saying? That's something you might need to, and you definitely need to take some time away and heal up, right? And then there's a step even further than that, where you might have like chronic back pain, or you got like diabetes or something like that, right? Something that you're going to have to manage your whole life, unless a cure comes out of the blue. So it's the same kind of with mental health, right? You have bad days. You lost your job, right? It sucks, but it's common. People will deal with that news differently. Right? Some people will be tougher than others. Sometimes with that bad day, you'll have some good days, you'll have some bad days when you'll be weaker. You might need some time away. Now you take it up a notch, and you have like a mental health problem of like a death in the family or something like that. More serious, right? And you need to grieve properly. He brought up like Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, great player. I believe he's the GOAT. Love Michael Jordan. I don't know if a lot of his ways you should emulate. You know what I'm saying? Definitely when it comes to work ethic, for sure. But if you know anything, if you watch The Last Dance, there's some certain things that you might not want to use him as a role model for, right? And if he didn't do all the winning, I feel like we'd view Michael Jordan very differently. He mentioned another basketball player, former basketball player, Kevin Garnett. I used to trash talk people, which is fine. I get all that as well. But Kevin Garnett also won a championship. So if Kevin Garnett, big time trash talker, like all kinds of stuff he'd be talking to you about. If you watch the YouTube interview with Gilbert Arenas with Vlad TV, you'll can see that. But again, had Kevin Garnett not won a championship, not been a great player, he'd just be viewed as a bully. You see what I'm saying? So I take it back to Michael Jordan with the passing of his, the murder of his dad. And Gilbert Arenas was saying how he went on and played baseball. How he still pursued. He was still in there. It was tough. I don't know that he should have been doing that, right? Now we look on it favorably because he won. He went in there, toughed it out, played great, and won. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's the best decision, right? There's definitely some mental health issues that he maybe should have dealt with. Then you take mental health even further, and you have to talk about like mental illnesses. You talk about clinical depression. You talk about clinical anxiety and different stuff like that, where you might have to manage it for the rest of your life. And people deal with it differently, right? Another thing about bringing up Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant, someone like that, is the fact that they're on a whole nother level of just willpower, strength. Not everybody's like that. It's freaking Michael Jordan, you know what I'm saying? Kobe Bryant, these types of people. So it's just different levels of this, and you can't just put everybody in the same box and say because you have some sort of mental struggle that you are automatically weak. Especially when we're talking, the thing that bothered me again is another, men of color, especially black men, have a real problem acknowledging mental health. Forget dealing with it, even acknowledging that it exists. And that's a real problem, right? That just adds to the mental health problem we have in America. So here you have another prominent black man dismissing mental health. And again, I understand the competition element. I understand the mental toughness that it takes in competition and team sports. I get that, absolutely. But again, this is why I feel like one of them, Vlad or Gilbert Arenas, should have acknowledged the other side and how important it is to take care of yourself. If you don't think it's a real problem, just look at the statistics in America. Look at young people in America today. And you can debate on why that is, but it's a big mental health problem, mental illness problem. There's the stigma that comes with someone even, mentioning mental health. It's more than just a buzzword. It's a reality for a lot of individuals. And we continue to perpetuate all these negative narratives. It can be damaging. And I feel like they should have had more respect for that. I feel as though the way they were talking about it, at least in that YouTube video, like they were glorifying the old era, a time where you don't even bring mental health up. It's not a thing. I'm sure it was a thing. People just weren't taking care of themselves, and we have a better idea of how to take care of ourselves today. Same with physical health and our diet. For the most part, diets have changed. The way we eat today is better because we're more educated now. It wasn't that a bad diet didn't exist back then. You know what I'm saying? We're just more educated now as a people. And we should take that, it's the same thing as with mental health. When I think Gilbert Arenas, and if you don't know Gilbert Arenas, You Google him, you find out. But anyone who paid attention to basketball when Gilbert Arenas was playing, I feel that there's a lot of people, including myself, that you think Gilbert Arenas, I think, and these were some controversies, all right? I think first, Gilbert Arenas pooping in shoes and bringing guns to work. Those are things that Gilbert Arenas did. These are big stories at the time. If you follow basketball, big stories. He pooped in someone's shoes as a prank. But the more important one was bringing guns. They were unloaded, but bringing guns to work. And as a result, he was chastised, he was ridiculed as well as he should have been. And you can't be all together in that season of your life if you're going to do things like that, especially the bringing guns to work thing, right? So I would think that he would have more appreciation for mental health, but maybe something else was going on in his mind back then. Maybe he doesn't consider it a mental health issue. Maybe he still doesn't. I don't know. I would say that most people, if you tell them without any context that somebody pooped in someone's shoes, thought it was funny, and that they brought guns to work, that they would say that that's some sort of mental health problem. Not a mental illness, necessarily, but a mental health problem at the very least, right? Not simply a bad day. And perhaps that individual needs to take some time out. Again, I get the competition thing. He in the interview, he brought up, he did kind of acknowledge, like, look, there's maybe a 10% of people who have certain issues, they need to take time out. But maybe he didn't even say 10%. I think it was like 1%, like the 99%, or the rest of us, or something like that, he said, of the team. They're like, get that out of here. We want to compete. We need to be together. And while I understand that, I feel like nowadays, in 2022, where we are today, that we can do that better. I understand it's a sports culture. I get that, but we can handle it better considering how serious of a topic this all is. Yeah. So change it. It doesn't have to stay that way. You can still be tough. Again, it doesn't mean that you're weak because you have a mental health struggle, right? You can learn to be tough. You can tough it out, and there's going to be days where you're not going to be able to tough it out, and you shouldn't have to worry whether people are going to think you're weak or not. Going back to physical health, if someone had those physical health problems, they would get support from the team. It would be expected. If you have a broken leg, you're going to heal up and you're going to get support from the team. It would be expected. If you have like soreness in your back or something like that, and it's really bad, that you get support from your team. So in the same way, mental health, that support should be there. So if that's the culture, change it. Especially prominent black men like Gilbert Arenas. Smart, a lot of influence, change it. You can state your opinion, but also be more compassionate and just wiser on the topic. You're influencing so many people who are struggling with this, so change the stigma, change the narrative, our dialogues throughout all this. We need to acknowledge that these mental health problems exist. We need to deal with them accordingly. And we need to learn to be strong. Yeah. So that's all I got. Peace.